Training in ethics and values is essential for the McCourt curriculum. I plan to make this case in several steps. First, I examine 3 policy controversies involving voting, immigration, and guns to show that our training in quantitative methods in economics does not and cannot resolve the most basic or the most important policy controversies we face. Ethics and values provides us ways to engage in thoughtful deliberation about these policy topics. Next, I will briefly outline 3 conceptual approaches to thinking about ethics and public policy. Quantitative methods in economics inform only one of these 3 approaches. I'll offer one hypothetical, but I think plausible case in which I suggest that ethics is essential for deciding which policies to adopt. Finally, I will ask what kind of graduates we expect McCourt to produce. First, voting. We can ask, who should be able to vote and under what conditions? Should photo IDs be required? Literacy tests? Should felons be allowed to vote? Women? 17-year-olds? Now, does the study of quantitative methods have anything to say about these questions? The answer is no, it doesn't. Quantitative methods can tell us something about the impact of differing voter policies, but it tells us nothing about which policies to adopt regarding voting. Does economics have anything to say about these questions? I think even less so than does quantitative methods. So, what economic principle justifies the allocation of a single non-tradable asset, we know this as one person, one vote, to all qualifying adults? Surely our social welfare would be enhanced if we created a market so that votes could be allocated to their highest values by allowing those who value them less to sell them or trade them to those who value them more. But surely creating a market for votes also offends our moral sentiments. At least, I hope it offends our moral sentiments. Ethics and values, which I will call ethics alone for the rest of this video, in contrast, ethics does have something to say about these questions. In fact, it has a lot to say about them. Terms such as human rights, equal rights, democracy, integrity, citizenship, and power, that is, non-quantitative, non-economic values, are key components in our deliberations regarding our voting policies. In an ethics course, we're going to study these and other concepts to understand their various interpretations. We do this so we'll understand which ethical arguments provide weaker or stronger arguments on behalf of policy recommendations, and how they can nudge our society in a direction that is closer to our moral aspirations. Now, I don't want to overclaim, ethics does not provide us the answers to the questions about what our voting policy should be, but unlike quantitative methods in economics, ethics allows us to engage in reasoned debate about them. Should women have the right to vote? The answer is yes. And that question was answered by compelling ethical arguments on behalf of this right. I believe it is McCourt's obligation to provide our graduates the necessary tools to allow them to engage in such debates. Now, let's turn to immigration. Who should be allowed to immigrate into the United States? And how many? From where? Should family connections matter? Should we continue birthright citizenship? What should be the legal status of the Dreamers, those covered by DACA? Again, I ask, does quantitative methods have anything to say about these questions? Once again, I'm going to say the answer is no. Quantitative methods can tell us something about the impact of differing immigration policies, but quantitative methods alone can tell us nothing about which immigration policies we should adopt. Again, with economics, does economics have anything to say about these questions? Yes. At least it does for some of them. Economic logic indicates that we should have completely open borders, the free flow of all capital and labor, because surely this would maximize global social welfare. Any losers under an open border regime could be compensated according to the Caldor-Hicks criterion, right? Isn't that economic logic? Now, Are you prepared to go forth and advocate for open borders purely on the basis that they theoretically maximize net global social welfare? If you are willing to do that, you would be making an ethical argument against the policies of every single country on earth. Everywhere, always. And why have countries uniformly rejected open borders? I think the reason is because they have other values, such as national sovereignty, such as citizenship, such as community, and so forth. Now, let's assume that our country is going to have at least some limits on immigration, as all countries do. Will economic principles alone guide us regarding whom to admit and whom to exclude? On how many immigrants should be admitted in total? On whether entry should be based on merit, family ties, diversity, or refugee status? I think that economic reasoning just gives us no guidance at all on these four options. Economic analysis alone cannot answer the most pressing questions we have regarding immigration. Again, ethics does not answer the questions about what our immigration policies should be, but unlike quantitative methods and unlike economics, other than economics' emphasis on the single value of efficiency, ethics allows us to engage in reasoned debates about immigration policy. Policy leaders should be capable of making reasoned and, I hope, persuasive arguments as to why we should embrace one or more of these options based on our moral principles, on our values. And I think that is why we should require ethics for our students. One final policy example, guns. What should our policies be regarding gun ownership? Quantitative methods provide no answers. Economics provides one single answer. Identify the marginal social cost of gun ownership, and price guns accordingly. Now, this answer can inform policy debates, but it doesn't provide the only answer. It simply says we should balance the costs and benefits of gun ownership and gun use in our society. But what do you say to someone who says that they have a right? Indeed, it's a right like freedom of expression, a constitutional right. They have a constitutional right to own firearms. What kind of firearms should be legal? Under what circumstances should individuals not be allowed to purchase and own guns? Should we be concerned that pricing guns at their marginal social cost means that low-income individuals would be unable to exercise their constitutional rights? Now, these three examples were chosen almost at random based on some of our today's headlines. But we could ask them about regarding almost any policy that we can think of. Drones, abortion, facial recognition technology, autonomous vehicles, access to life-ending drugs, surrogacy, healthcare, income inequality, racial inequality, climate change and the pandemic. Really, any policy controversy we can imagine can be better informed by careful attention to ethics and values than by quantitative reasoning and economics alone.